All right. Thank you so much for joining in today. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about is, as you know, we have an association for registered psychiatric nurses now, and we're very excited about that. We've been working with a number of nursing associations in BC for quite some time, and we're proud to say that we're soon to launch the Association of Nurses and Nurse Practitioners of BC. So just so that everybody knows, there's approximately 30 attendees that will be joining us. Welcome very much to this presentation. All right, we're now on the second slide of my presentation. And this is on the 3 pillars of nursing. I'm going to talk a little bit about this one, and I can certainly entertain questions later if there are more concerns about it. As you know, in nursing, we talk about the 3 pillars of nursing, and they're all equally important, and they overlap in their roles with the regulatory body. That is, their mandate is the protection of the public, and they also do licensing for the registrants, and that's a little bit of the overlap to your professional association, which shows in the middle. A professional association is really your voice that links us to the government and helps with policy for health reform and other professional activities, looking at the broader picture of issues that are happening out there in the world. For example, right now we've been working on issues with the crisis in the opioid crisis. And the third pillar in nursing is the labor union. And the labor union's role is that of its memberships only, so it only represents those people who are actually in its collective agreement. The historical context: in late 2013, a small group of nurse leaders came together because we had heard disturbing rumors from government that perhaps they were not thrilled with the way the nurse practitioner implementation was going on. Concerned by this, the group met for a full day to discuss what could be done. Halfway through the day, the realization emerged that while NPs might be the first line we needed to defend, in reality, the entire profession was facing a crisis. With the dissolution of the nursing directorate and very few strong professional voices for nursing coming forward, the situation for the profession was dire. The group decided to meet regularly and continue to work on issues that impact all of nursing together. At this point, the group was made up of RNs and NPs, and it was without a name. It was just an ad hoc group of leaders who were focused on trying to save the profession here in BC. After a few months, we became the BC Primary Care Nursing Coalition, although that name didn't really last very long. And after all, we were still only RNs and MPs. In 2014, we changed our name as we struggled to decide who and what we were. We knew that we needed to head towards a cohesive voice on key nursing issues. We needed to figure out what and how we were doing. We recognized that we had a lot of issues, but not a lot of resolutions. We began to develop a nursing strategy, but again, we were just RNs and NPs. We invited and engaged with some key individuals, and we started to think about how we would define who was on the coalition. And most importantly, at this point, we reached out to the LPN-ABC and included a few RPNs. The reasoning for that was that the RPN group did not officially formalize as an association until December of 2014. Because we knew we were missing the voice of some of our nursing community, we needed to include everybody. In 2015, we formalized a number of very important things. We figured out that we would need equal representation, not proportional representation. We identified that some of our group were actually members of the Nursing Education Council. We also recognized that we needed to formalize who participated and how, and so we created the terms of reference. During this time, what the coalition focused heavily on was the support of one college for the regulators. We had some regulation responses, which people have seen in the Nursing Knows, the bulletins that have come out. And we also had our second day at the legislature in May and did a ton of work on the new health care policy forum. In 2016, the BC Coalition of Nursing Associations was officially formed. We met with the profession regulating leadership from the Ministry of Health in February to talk about the nursing regulations, which were brought in December of that year. The regulators joined us, and that was the first meeting where we explicitly shared with the three regulators our desire for them to amalgamate into one college for the benefit of one profession. In April, we met with senior ministry staff, all three regulators, and the chief nursing officers to discuss the road forward for the coalition and to talk about one college and where things are going. In May of 2016, we had our third day at the legislature with our biggest mix of nursing professionals and students ever. The terms of references, which you can read on our website, laid out a number of things you would normally find in a TOR: meeting frequency, confidentiality, etc. But more notably, it established the board of the organization. We decided each of the 5 member groups would have the right to appoint 3 representatives, regardless of the size of the organization. In most cases, it is a combination of board executive positions, president, president-elect, or vice president. This is an enormously important part of our strategy and our plan. We absolutely had to ensure that we had equal representation regardless of how many individuals are part of the one profession in BC. So whether it's 400 nurse practitioners or 40,000 registered nurses, the representatives numbered the same. This was specific and intentional. We wanted to ensure that all voices were equal and that no one profession was left behind or felt excluded from the discussion. The beauty of this model has proven itself over time. The connections between professions that may not ever have encountered one another is profound. It also ensures that issues are heard. Our Constitution and bylaws were birthed out of the term of references, and for the most part, we remain true to what was in this original document. Which brings us to today. Things that are certain. Nursing is more collaborative as a coalition than we were before, but we are still not one voice. BC is on the edge of change, and we need to do this right. And we know that we're on the edge of change, and we're all excited about that because, in particular, we're ahead of the country. When we travel across the country and talk to nurses from other jurisdictions, they are amazed, they are excited, and they are interested in learning how we are working together in collaboration. Everyone seems to have a sense that the future for nursing is going to be this pulling together, strengthening the voice through our shared journey. But so far, BC is ahead of the game when it comes to actually making it happen. But with great power comes great responsibility. That's according to either Voltaire or Superman. In other words, as we do this, we need to do it right and well and responsibly. And we need all nurses to inform us and guide us as we move forward. We are more collaborative as a coalition than we were before, but we're not one voice. Although we've been working together since 2013, we know that we are still not one voice for nursing in the province. Each of the 4 professional associations, understandably, is still jockeying for influence and voice, for opportunity to collect politically or with the media to advance their profession. We believe that under one association, our ability to work together and speak together on nursing issues will be magnified. There will still be much room for individual nursing groups to speak to the things that affect their own designation, but when it comes to the overarching voice of nursing, this is an opportunity to truly be one and to change the understanding and awareness of what a nursing association can and should be. Stakeholders already have expectations: government, one nursing regulator, individual associations, the BC Coalition of Nursing Associations, nurses, unions, CNA, and CNPS. This is not a new concept. For several years, the question has been floating around: one regulator, one union, why not one association? We know that nurses have looked closely at the work of all of the nursing associations, and the question we are asked the most is, why are you not working more collaboratively together? It's a good question, and one we would love to address. This is just one step towards a more collaborative shared nursing space. Government, regulators, health authorities, they all want one-stop shopping. They want to be able to come to one association with a question and not have to canvass 4 different groups that have not discussed or worked together on an issue. Nurses want to know that the 4 designations are closely linked and are able to discuss quickly and efficiently the issues that are key to nursing today: scope of practice, workload, burnout, hierarchies. This move to one association will make all of our work more efficient, more manageable, and will send a signal that nursing is together as one. BC 3 nursing regulator bodies will merge into one sometime in 2018. I believe September is the goal. The 3 nursing regulatory bodies will become one, and this will benefit all nurses and stakeholders. Although we don't have to do the same, it just makes sense that we look at what a merger of the colleges will do for nursing, and we ensure that the appropriate organization exists to balance that on the professional, association, and advocacy side. We know we are stronger and more efficient and more effective when we work together. The BC CNA has worked together for the past 4 years, and our worlds have changed. Suddenly, rather than having individual organizations fighting within and among themselves, there are equal voices at the table discussing issues affecting each of the designations individually and as a group. There are a few things more powerful than sitting at a table where the LPNs have an equal voice to NPs or RPNs have an equal voice to RNs. The coalition works because we recognize that nursing limits itself when it only seeks to advance its own designation. But the world opens up to possibilities to the way we can and should practice, the way we can and should conduct research, when we allow everyone to come to the table in respect and fairness. We are stronger together. This is evidence, whether it's at the bedside as a team leading disaster recovery, or as an organization committed to managing nursing advocacy on a national level. Collaboration is the future of our profession. CNA hopes to change its bylaws in June 2018 to include all members of the nursing family. In a historical and unanimous decision in November 2017, the CNA board agreed they would present an update in bylaws at the 2018 AGM, which would make the national body inclusive of LPNs and RPNs. We are so proud that the role BC has played in initiating this change, and we are proud to stand together equally with all nurses from every part of this province and country. This opens the door for all members of the nursing family to benefit from the programs, services, advocacy, and opportunities that CNA offers at a time when the national organization is making historical changes to become even more relevant to nurses. This is unprecedented, and we are excited to explore the partnerships and futures we are going to have together. Our guiding principles were developed by the 4 boards of the 4 professional associations and the educators from the NNPBC. We met in May to discuss what the most important principles were to move us forward towards closer collaboration and potential amalgamation. These have not changed, and in every aspect of our work, we push to ensure we respect, remember, and reiterate each one of these principles. Let us know if you think we are missing the mark on any, because our intent is to stay true to the vision that was set out by those who have been elected to lead. Nurses and nurse practitioners of BC. This is our proposed name for the new organization. This was one of our most challenging decisions. How do you recognize all of the designations in one name? There were some logistical reasons why certain names didn't work. They were unavailable on the corporate registry. There was no obvious website name, or the acronym was just really bad. There were also practical reasons why certain names didn't work, such as the Association of LPN, NP, RN, RPNs, or the ALPN LPN, NP, RN, RPN was a bit long. There was some soul searching around whether to distinguish NPs separately, but there were also some very good reasons why we landed and ultimately stayed with this name. We are proud, all of us, to have nurse practitioners in this province, and it is our desire that all nurses recognize that we have nurse practitioners who are able to take on a whole new set of skills and competencies. An RN, an RPN, or an RN all enter the room to say, "Hi, I'm your nurse for the day." But an NP enters the room and says, "Hi, I'm your nurse practitioner." We looked at models like the College of Physicians and Surgeons. Their title also recognizes that surgeons are an advanced and slightly different class of physician. And we looked at the work NPs have done in BC since 2005 to be recognized, to be part of the discussion, to be something that the public is aware of. It has not been an easy road for NPs in this province who have struggled to be integrated into a system that should be embracing them. And so after months of discussion, we landed on this. We're interested in hearing your thoughts on our name, but with one caveat. Quite often when people hear the name, they don't like it. But after a few hours, they start thinking, maybe this is not so bad. On this next slide, you'll see our governance model. And it shows on the top, you will see the RN Council with 2 reps, the RPN Council 2, the NP with 2, and the LPN with 2. And on the bottom of it are the other current spots. And we felt it was very important to keep the Nurse Educator Council of BC. They will select who their representative is. A public rep will be appointed, a student rep will be appointed, and an Indigenous rep will also be appointed. These councils won't be boards. They will actually be councils, and their roles will change a little bit. They won't have to worry as much as a council about staff or rent or the overarching budget. Instead, they'll have a few key roles. They will manage a budget for their own designation. It won't be huge, but it will allow the council to meet several times a year, which is a lot more than happens now. They will elect a new slate of representatives every year, as they do now. They will elect one Indigenous nurse from each designation to sit on the council, and they will continue to discuss, bring forward, speak to, and address issues that relate to their specific designation. They will appoint 2 representatives to sit on the NNPBC board. The councils will work with one another and connect with one another through their members, staff, and through their board representatives, coming together once or twice per year as one large group to share issues and ensure networks are strong between the councils. In addition to the 8 representatives appointed by each council, there will be 4 additional representatives. As I mentioned before, the public patient representative, student representative. Each of these will be chosen through a call for nominations and selected by a subcommittee of the board. NECBC will appoint 1 educator to sit on the board, and 1 Indigenous board member will be chosen on a rotating basis from among the Indigenous representatives of each council. One of the things we have heard loud and clear from many nurses is to not make the board so large that it becomes ineffective. We have all seen that happen to organizations, and we do not want to become paralyzed by excess. The existing association boards will become councils and will represent and advocate for the interests of their designation, hold elections for council members each spring, include 1 Indigenous nursing representative, appoint 2 members to sit on the board, meet about 4 to 8 times a year depending on the need, and manage a small budget, as I mentioned. This is the summary slide for you. What about fees? We know this is going to be a question, so we're going to try and have an answer. For 2018, association fees will not change for any of the professional designations. Any fee changes you will see in 2018 are from the college or from the union. They are not from the associations. It's out of our control. We are committed to try to reduce costs wherever possible in order to ensure that association fees do not get out of this world. We believe that under the new structure, NPs will not need to pay 2 fees, as they do now, to belong to both the NNPBC and the BCNPA, as BCNPA will no longer be collecting fees. We believe that we have work to do to build the programs and services for LPNs and RPNs where they are currently lacking, and we're ready to do that. Just give us a year. We believe that it's important for all nurses to have a say in what is happening nationally with CNA, and we're working tirelessly with CNA to realize that vision. Part of that will be ensuring that all of our members of NNPBC, every designation, can belong also to CNA. And along with that comes looking closely at what we pay to CNA and ensuring it's manageable and doable. But most importantly, we need to hear from you. What do you want? What would be the most important elements you would want us to handle? Do you want stronger practice supports, more political advocacy, better perks programs, best practice guidelines, continuing education funds? What are the things you're looking for that would make you say, aha, this is something I'm excited to be a part of? And finally, on my very last slide, is an opportunity to answer some of the questions that you have been asking. This is our let's talk about it. So one of the questions is how RPNs maintain their professional voice, given that we're small in numbers. Well, the purpose of the equal representation on the board will ensure that happens. And so the reps that will be sitting on the board, there's 2 that will be sitting on the board. They will be making sure that the voice of RPNs are heard. The membership can come directly to the bigger association with their concerns, RPNs, and or they can connect with the council members directly. Any other questions people have out there? What will happen to ARPNBC if the new association is formed? Excellent question. So what will happen is we will have to hold an extraordinary general meeting to have a resolution around the a resolution about amalgamating into the association. So the existing members of the ARPNBC will vote on need to amalgamate, and we need a 75% majority to do that. And then the ARPNBC as society won't exist anymore, but it will become the council that we spoke about earlier. And looking on for a few more questions. Well, hearing none, I think that it's a wonderful time for all of us, and especially for our profession. We've been very fortunate in being included in the coalition. Having the invite a number of years ago to join helped those of us who are currently on your board meet and get together and decide, you know what, we need an association, and that's how the Association of Registered Psychiatric Nurses was formed. And certainly you can reach us at arpnbc.org. You can see our webpage, or you can send us an email via our Gmail account, and we're more than willing to answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much, and I'm going to say, talk to you soon.